What's up, guys? It's Marcus here from the Uncorrupted Report, and today I want to talk about the Charlie Kirk Hasan Piker interview debate. I'm sorry. Um, I didn't really enjoy it. I watched the whole thing, and the only reason I watched the whole thing is because I saw that there was the altercation between Cenk and Charlie, but I didn't know when it was, so I wanted to get the full context. And unfortunately for me, it happened at the end, so I did watch the whole thing. And my thoughts quickly, nothing really got accomplished. It was more of a shouting match. Just a lot. This is the thing about Charlie Kirk. When you debate a guy like this, um, he says so much bullshit that it can explode your mind. It can actually hurt your brain. And if you try to debunk all of his falsehoods that he states and all of the misleading statements he puts up, you're gonna kill yourself. You're not gonna do anything in that debate. And I think it's important that when you debate someone like that, you zero in on a few statements he makes, and mainly the big bullshit ones. So he makes one statement and he builds the next one off that and the next one off that and so on and so forth. And you have this big pyramid of just falsehoods, lies, and misleading statements from Charlie Kirk, misleading statistics like Obama increased the debt by more than any president in history, and that's because of his policy. I mean, that's a misleading statement. It's true, but it's misleading. And he builds these off of these pyramids. So you have to zero in on some statements he makes, and you have to go for the jugular. So I think a very important one that Hassan completely ignored and even conceded, saying he doesn't always agree with Democrats, is when Charlie Kirk says Democrat policies don't work. More importantly, leftist policies don't work. Social democratic policies don't work. Any of these pro-government, pro-healthcare, nationalized healthcare, pro-free college, they don't work because who's been running all the shit cities in America for the past 100 years? It's been Democrats. Who's run Detroit? Who's been running Cleveland? Who's been running Chicago? So on and so forth. And that's why these policies suck, because they suck. And then look at the best cities in America. Dallas. Look at the best cities in America. Atlanta. So it's a complete crazy idea that he's trying to push here. First of all, it's not true because these cities don't exist in a vacuum. No matter who was in charge of Detroit, state and federal policy were going to impact it, and the city was going to go down the tubes. I don't care who was in charge of Detroit. I don't care who was in charge of Cleveland or Chicago. There still was going to be some type of problems in the Rust Belt, in these Rust Belt cities, because of federal and state policy. So you can't pretend like those don't affect cities. But what Hassan had to do there was not concede and say, look, I don't always agree with Democrats. The first thing you got to say is, man, the poorest states in the country are all deep red states in the South. It's a plain, simple argument. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, Arkansas. These states statistically are the worst. There's no questions about this. That's a fact. And again, I'm not saying they exist in a vacuum either, because federal policy affects them as well. But this is state policy. This is bigger than just a city. Yes, many Democrats are corrupt in Detroit. There's no disagreeing with that. And again, I don't agree with the Democratic Party most of the time, and neither does Hassan. But you can't concede that point there to Charlie, because you give him ground. Another one is Venezuela. There's not too much to say about that. Their economy is entirely reliant on the international price of oil, which has been incredibly cheap over the past couple of years. Of course, their economy is going to be shitty right now. But what you have to do in this situation, when Charlie says anything about Venezuela, when he says anything about Democrat policies and big cities, that's why they suck, you have to keep the conversation there first. And then you have to go for the jugular, and you have to prove him wrong on that point. And you can't let him escape that and start talking about the free market and Trump with Hispanic and black unemployment being at the lowest levels in history. You can't let him escape with those. You have to return to, man, you just said city officials, city council, and the mayor are basically completely responsible for how a city turns out and what happens in a city. Come on, man. This is a hack statement. It's not true. So that's what you have to do. Other than that, the debate was shit to watch. They're horrible to watch. Nothing gets accomplished. I mean, really, nothing gets accomplished at all. No one is gonna switch sides from watching one of these. It's just a shouting match, and it's like WWE. It's like Mayweather versus McGregor, McGregor versus Khabib. That's what these are like now. That's the way of the game. And unfortunately, in the way of that game, Hasan had to back up his boy Cenk a little bit more, I think. I think he shouldn't, again, have given ground. He should have gotten up there and defended Cenk, who's not only his boss, he's his friend, and he's being fucking verbally attacked by Charlie Kirk. Come on, man. I'm not saying two wrongs make a right, but I can guarantee you if Candace Owens was in the crowd and gotten in an argument with someone that Charlie Kirk was debating, and the person Charlie Kirk was debating said, "Bitch, I live like a socialist every day," you know he wouldn't say, "Oh, Candace, calm down, please." He would be backing Candace up. That's all I have to say. I'm not saying, violence or any of that or any of these things are good, but this is what has to be done in this sort of WWE type environment, or else you just look like a bitch. It's plain and simple. This is the game. That's how it's played. You have to play it. If you're going to agree to one of these debates, you got to be ready to shout. You got to be ready to scrap, basically, unfortunately. So other than that, shit, man, I've told you. I don't enjoy these debates. I think if you had a Charlie Kirk versus Hasan Piker in a private studio with a moderator of someone very neutral but strong who can actually step in there and interrupt and say, "No, quiet, we have to keep the conversation here," a lot more would be accomplished. And I think Charlie Kirk would be exposed for the talking point puppet fraud that he is. All right, guys. I know I talk all this shit about uploading more. I've just been very busy the past month, to be honest. I haven't had time, and I haven't had the motivation. But hopefully this will return some of the motivation, and I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to like if you enjoyed, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button down below. All right, guys. Have a good day.